clean it up. I mean, whatever you do here, it's an honor to have you here. We got people from all over the place, all over the country, and it's a blessing. Isn't it nice to be around nice people?
Yeah.
I mean, where we can come together in a place and just have a good time and just party and enjoy this one, whether it's raining, pouring, sprinkling, whatever it might be. Good food, like I says, good conversation, taking pictures of one another, and just being a blessing one to another. One of the things that I've been sharing with so many people tonight, and they're all in agreement with it, like I said, is we can get high on relationships, friendships with one another, seeing other people doing well. So tonight's just a night like that. Alika, Fausto, and the whole crew's just put together nights like this so we can come together and just, you know what, enjoy ourselves and relax in a non-judgmental place we could be. So welcome to the Magic House. Every Sunday night at 7 o'clock, we do a gig something like this where we have a meeting and a bunch of different people speak. So everybody's invited every Sunday night. And if there's anything I can do for it, like I said, I'm setfreeanaheim.com or Phil Aguilar SF on Instagram. And like I said, if I can be of service to anybody anyway, but God bless you and let's enjoy the rest of this night. Thank you.
All right. Sorry, I get my son with me. He's gonna help me celebrate something that, is very important to all of us. So we're gonna start this event the way we always do, and that's celebrating our recovery. Okay, you guys ready? Yeah. We're doing chips without the chips, basically. That's what we're doing right now, okay? Okay, where's all the newcomers? Make some noise. Woo! All right, anybody here got 30 days? 30 days, stand up, 30 days, where are you? Two hands?
Say your name.
What's your name?
Madison.
Oh, Madison and Micah. All right. What about 60 days?
Okay.
All right. There's a lot of you guys. Patricia, 30 days. All right. Oh, yeah. What about 90 days? He said. 90 days. Anybody 90 days?
We got one back
Where?
there.
Oh, okay. What's your name, bro? Trent? All right, Trent. Congratulations. Anybody? What about 6 months? Anybody? 6 months? Nobody? Half a baby? No? No? Well, I went public high school, so, Okay, what about 9 months? 9 months. 9 months. Whoa! What's your name?
Kate.
Kate, congratulations, Kate. Thank you for being here. All right. And we also celebrate birthdays here. Pro Recovery Power, we host a recovery meeting every Wednesday night on Zoom. I started it during the pandemic, and it's still going on right now to this day. Every Wednesday night. So we celebrate birthdays. It's a big deal. Anybody here stayed sober for the last 365 days?
That's a year.
Yes, 1 year. Yeah. Sorry. That's 1 year. 1 year. Oh, what's your name, bro? What's your name? Tell everybody. Dion. Yeah. Congratulations. Oh, yeah. He said congratulations. Anybody with 2 years? 2 years. Whoa! All right. Congratulations. What's your name, young lady?
Kimberly.
Kimberly. Give her a hand. All right, Kimberly. What about 3 years? Woo! Penny. Hey, Penny, what's your name? Penny and Susan, you guys both celebrate 3 years. Woo, all right, congratulations. Okay, anybody else? 3 years? Huh? Oh, right there. Sorry, Chris. Chris, what's your name? Chris. Congratulations, Chris. I'm sorry. Believe it or not, I met Chris, during the pandemic, everything was shut down. I met him on social media 2 years ago? Today is the first time we met up in real life. Yeah. Somebody's going my face. Okay, what about 4 years? Anybody got 4 years? Whoa, 6. Come over here. Congratulations to everybody. What's your name?
Sunday.
Woo! That's Sunday. For all my clients, you guys heard about her. That's her right there. Okay. Anybody here? I'm not sure. We might have somebody here. Sunday. We might have somebody here we might have somebody here celebrating 5 years of continuous sobriety. Who could it be? I don't see any hands up. Oh, there he is, the home dealer. Did somebody get me those big balloons? Right? Don't they got those number balloons when you get sober? Nobody? Damn. It's 5 years in a row I did not get it. What do I gotta, who do I give my to?
Wait till 7.
Oh, I gotta wait till 7? Oh. Oh, is that a balloon for me?
Ready.
Oh, we're gonna... Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Fausto. Happy birthday to you. Congratulations, bro. Real quick, tell us how you did that, bro. Real quick.
How'd you do it?
All right, do I got an hour? How did I do it? Simple as this. This is what I did. 1, I went to AA. I found a sponsor. I found somebody who had what I wanted. And I said, I will trust you with my life because my thinking makes me really weird. And, it puts me in places I shouldn't be. So, work the steps, get a sponsor, be of service, right? They say addiction is the only disease where service is the cure.
Yeah.
Right? Just doing that, helping out people, making life about other people, believing in God. That's the key, because 24/7, I'm with myself, and none of you guys can be with me 24/7, but God can.
Amen.
But I get it, right? The whole God thing can be a little weird. I get it. It's called religious trauma. But see, God can be whatever you want it to be because God is everything. And so take your time, figure out what that means to you. It becomes more clear. And if you seek it, you will find it. That's the best part. And even if you don't want to believe, it believes in you. And that's been the key for my 5 years. All my happiness is because I believe in a God. And God can be the gift of desperation, the gift of direction, a group of drunks, a group of dealers, a group of druggies, a group of dysfunction. I mean, look around this whole room. We got a group of diversity, right?
Oh, yeah.
Woo! That's right. But yeah, that's how I did it. I don't want to talk too long because they're going to interview me and all of us.
Oh, yeah.
So that's all I got right now. But I love all you guys.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, hang on. Angel, you want my balloon? Oh, Angel, you want Uncle's balloon? Uncle, what's his name? What's his name?
Adam.
What's his name?
Oh.
Here we go. Here's mommy. There's mommy. Okay. All right, guys. So at this time, I'm going to introduce our guest speaker and host is my friend Siobhan Thompson from Throttle to Thrive. She'll talk more about that. But she will be celebrating, if she stays on track, next year. How many years?
10 years.
10 years in January. Woo, there is a dot. So at this time, she's gonna tell you a little bit about herself, and then we'll get into the panel. So give it up for Siobhan.
Good evening, Magic House. It's so good to be here. Good to see you guys. For it. So like he said, I'm Siobhan and I'm an alcoholic. And I've been sober something like 9 years and 8 months and 20-something days. So it has been quite the journey. And I'm living proof that you can do it.
That's right.
One day at a time, one moment at a time, through community and friends and program and sponsors and big book and getting close to God and all the other things that we do here in sobriety and recovery. It works if you work it. It really does. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. I'm going to try to talk for 10 minutes or so. If I ramble on for too long, hopefully these guys will start making some noise back here. All right, so I grew up in Ventura. I'm currently 36 years old. I'm from a really normal family, like middle class, normal white family, like nothing really special. But nothing bad. Like there's no reason why I should be an alcoholic, except that it does run in my family, but not my parents. Like my parents didn't drink when I was growing up. They were never abusive. Like Nothing bad ever happened to me. But at 13, when my brother handed me the warm whiskey bottle with, a little bit in the bottom, I chugged the whole thing in one big chug. So I was an alcoholic like straight out the gate, 13 years old. And then I ran around the neighborhood barefoot until I started, puking and passed out. And that was my introduction to being an alcoholic. So when I was a teenager, it was really hard actually to get alcohol. Being 13, you can't just go and buy it. But weed was everywhere, and my brother was a drug dealer, and he was selling weed, so I would go on the drug deals and get smoked out, and life was good. Smoking a lot of pot did it for me until about I was 18, and he had gone to college, and I started getting into working out and kind of changed some friend groups and basically just stopped smoking weed, and then I went to college. Introduction to alcohol is everywhere. I joined a sorority, lived on the row, and we partied, and I drank and drank and drank. And when I was 21, kind of realized, I don't drink like other people. And so I tried to stop drinking for a month. That really didn't go very well. And a month later, I was right back into drinking. And it is a progressive disease. We get worse, not better, if we continue to use or drink. So I was just right back on that party train, blacking out. Life was a mess. I'm going to try not to make this a drunk-a-log and get some more of the sobriety. So fast forward, moved down to Hermosa Beach, and then the drinking got really bad. Graduated college, the drinking got worse because now I had money and I didn't have to study for tests or show up to class. So there was just drinking and partying and breakfast mimosas turning into all-night drinking, waking up with strange people in strange places, not knowing their names or how I got there, and hoping I could get home somehow. Woke up in my own vomit a few times. I'm actually really grateful to be alive because that's how you asphyxiate and die. So by the grace of God, I'm standing here today sober and loving life and so passionate about being sober because it's really changed my life. I went from just having cravings, never being satisfied. Nothing was ever good enough. Having to control everything. Bouncing from one friend group to the next. One guy to the next. Getting, just wanting to be loved and accepted and seen, but in all the wrong ways and with all the wrong people. And I was shallow, and so all the people that I hung out with were really shallow. And as much as I was using them, they were using me. It just wasn't a good thing. So fast forward a little bit, January 2013, I go to a charity event with a friend. I buy her ticket so that she would drive me so that I could drink and she could stay sober to drive me home. Got really hammered, went home that night, opened a bottle of wine, called my then boyfriend. Don't remember that conversation because I was blacked out. And then in the morning, I have a text from him, hey, give me a call. And I call him, I'm like, oh no, what did I say? What happened? He's like, hey, I don't want to be with you if you're going to drink like that. Hung up the phone and literally had an epiphany from God. Not an audible voice from God, but just the voice of God in my head, in my thoughts. Hey, you're going to lose everything that you've worked really hard for. And I actually had worked really hard. I went to USC. I have 2 degrees in engineering. I work for a general contractor. I'm currently a superintendent. And I had a place, I had a car, I had a great job, and everything was going to be taken away from me. At that point, I'd never been to jail, I'd never been really in trouble with anything. And that's when I decided that I really needed to get help. And miraculously, that boyfriend of mine happened to be 13 years sober through Narcotics Anonymous. He was a former meth user, he lived on the streets, and he got sober really young at 19. So lo and behold, he took me to my first AA meeting. And that's where I met some really amazing women. That's where I got sober, and that's where I started working a program. So at that time, living in Hermosa Beach, there's great sobriety there, and I just jumped right in. I got into action. And that's the difference. I've seen a lot of different people come through the doors and go out the doors and come back. And I think so much of it has to do with our choice of wanting to take that action, wanting to ask for help, wanting to pick up that phone, wanting to show up to a meeting when we don't feel like showing up to a meeting, wanting to meet with our sponsor and actually following through. So those are the things I did. I really got into action and I changed my environment. I stopped going to the bars because there was nothing for me at them anymore. And instantly all those people that I was hanging out with and drinking with, they all disappeared, because if I wasn't gonna go drinking with them, they didn't wanna hang out with me and vice versa. But changing my environment really helped. And honestly, in early sobriety for me, having that boyfriend that was sober was really helpful, because we went to the gym, we cooked dinner, we started going to church. Like, life was actually pretty simple and really good for a long time, but I had to learn to trust myself. For me, that was one of the big things in early sobriety, is I had put myself in so many dangerous situations or just bad situations or just made so many bad choices. I didn't trust myself. So I found women that I could trust, and I relied on them for my judgment, and I would run things by them, like, hey, what do you think about me going here? What do you think about me doing this? Or, hey, I'm having this problem with a coworker. And I would rely on them to give me good advice. My sponsor at that point in time had 27 years sober. So she was a lot older than me, and she was great. And she would help me navigate those things. So having that community, showing up to the meetings. I was in a women's group every Tuesday, and then I would go to like a co-ed speaker meeting on Fridays in Hermosa. And during the week, I was working the steps with the sponsor. We sat and we read the whole big book together. And I was working on figuring out, who God was and what role that had in my life as well. And that reliance on the higher power really, really helped as well. In those moments when maybe I couldn't get a hold of someone, or wasn't appropriate to make a phone call during a meeting at work, when my emotions were coming up, that was another thing in early sobriety. Really had to learn to deal with my emotions and meet life on life's terms, and stop being a lying, cheating little hoochie, because that wasn't really going well. So had to clean up the behavior, but as I worked along that path, things got a lot better, and I started to gain more self-respect, and then the respect of other people as well, which was awesome. The biggest impact for me in the steps was definitely the 9th step amends. If you haven't made it that far, don't skip the 9th step. It was one of the hardest for me, because I really had to get humble. I really had to humble myself. I had to go to people and tell them, hey, I stole money from you, and here's the money I stole from you, I'm giving it back. But it was really amazing. I remember in particular, there was a restaurant I'd been to, and it was New Year's Eve, and I was there with a friend, and they brought us the bill for someone else's table and their person's credit card. So we just signed the bill and we left. And we tried to actually leave the credit card, and they chased us out. They're like, oh, you forgot your card. So we had to take the card. We just threw the card away, but we got dinner for free. And I had to go back years later and go talk to that owner of the restaurant and be like, hey, this is how much I think our bill would have been. I'm so sorry. We stole dinner from you. And he was blown away. And it was actually a really healing experience for me to go to each person that I had wronged, and most of them forgave me. And it was really healing. So if you haven't been through that, I really recommend you do the 9th step. Don't shortchange that one. How are we doing on time? Are we? 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Let's see. And then I learned how to just function in normal society. Now I'm able to go to work events. I work in construction. My company drinks a lot. I learned if I have a drink in my hand and I put a lime in it, everyone thinks it's an alcoholic drink when it's either soda water or Coca-Cola. But it's got a lime in it, so they're like, oh, you're drinking. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. But they don't ask me if I want a drink. And so learning simple tools like that has been really helpful in sobriety, just to help me function in normal life, and other people can mind their own business. So
That's right.
yeah.
Right, yeah.
So that's my story in a little nutshell. All right, so now we're going to move into our panel for this evening. So basically, I've got a bunch of questions here, and I'm going to interview these guys. Okay, sure. I'll sit. All right, first we'll have them introduce themselves.
So, my name is Fausto. I go by the Hope Dealer Fausto. Some of you guys, does anyone know me in here already? Yeah. So, I'm a motivational speaker. I'm a life coach, certified drug and alcoholic counselor. I own my own group therapy business, master's in theology, getting a bachelor's in social work, and I just love helping people. And is that all? Oh, I'm a jump rope king.
Yeah.
Number 2 jump rope for athletic training in the world. Do I do anything else?
Yeah, you're a magician too.
Oh, I'm a magician. I'm a DJ. Yeah, that goes on. You can tell I have ADD. Yeah.
Videographer.
Oh, I'm a videographer too. I forgot about that one. Yeah. What else have I got? Nothing. I'm gonna stop talking.
I don't want to follow that. What do you mean? That's terrible. All right. Hi guys, my name is Kat. I am known as Kat, I think. Okay. I'm not gonna put it closer. Oh, okay. All right. I will be celebrating 7 years. Not yet. November 1st. By the grace of God. I am founder and own some treatment centers in Laguna Niguel, Dana Point. Super, super blessed. Some of my clients are here, my staff, they're amazing. I'm so blessed. I don't have a bunch of credentials after my name. I am definitely an alcoholic, definitely an addict, and absolutely love helping people. It is my purpose, my passion, and I'm super excited to be here tonight. So that's what I got.
And Kat forgot to mention, if anybody ever had the idea or thought, like, if you get sober, you'll be bored, like it'll be boring? She is the poster girl for having fun sober.
That's right.
Trust me. Oh, so anyways, my name is Alika, and I go by Alika. I identify as a sober alcoholic and drug addict, and I'm the founder of Pro Recovery Power. You can now look to your right there. If you're sitting behind the TV, you can turn on and look at it too. You can go ahead and give us a follow. Check out the website. You can stay up to date on all the events we do, everything that's going on with PRP. So I got the vision for PRP in, I was on August 9th of 2020. And you know, I believe our thoughts are things. A lot of my clients are here, I say this all the time. A mind change is a life change. Our thoughts are things. Everybody that's here right now, this right here, everybody existed in my mind first. And then it manifested. All of this stuff I thought about first, and then I took action. As an addict, as an alcoholic, we know how to take action. We know how to do that. So, you know, thank you guys so much for being here. I'll pass the mic back to Siobhan.
Woo! Give it up for our panel. Awesome. All right. Question number 1. What was or what is the hardest part of complete abstinence?
The hardest part? The hardest part for me, I would say, is because I know that drinking and using is the fastest way to feel good, the fastest way to make a boring time a fun time, the fastest way to make a bad day a good day. The hardest thing is to know that I can't use that when I'm going through hardship. You know, I can't. The reality is in 5 years that I'm celebrating today, like these past 2 months, I've thought about drinking and using more than I ever have. And it's just because I know, damn, I still remember how good it feels. So for me, that's the hardest part, and that's why I always have to stay connected like this, because I'm one decision away, you know, and I think that's me being humble, because I know if I ever say I will never drink and use again, it's like, that's bullshit. It just is. So that's the hardest part for me.
Man, this is a tough question. I really identified with what you said about being at social events and not having that the tools to like have. I mean, I drank and used to do anything, to go to the grocery store, you know, towards the end. So it was really overwhelming for me when I first got sober to think about not drinking at social events, especially when I had a lot of business events that I would attend to, and we would often have open bars. And I was really identified myself, I'm sure, as the party girl. So it was very weird for me to be like, how do I have fun without alcohol? That seems so crazy. Those two cannot exist at the same time. And lo and behold, I had a few, events where I kind of white knuckled it and took the advice of a sponsor of just walking around with a drink so that people thought I had a drink. And I had a really good time. And I didn't think that that was even possible. And then, you know, at the end of the night, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel great about myself. That was so fun.
and it started to just kind of become a trend. So I would say socially, that was the most overwhelming when I first got sober. Is like, I cannot imagine going to Christmas or a sporting event, and thank goodness I took some advice.
All right. Well, you're brave, Kat. Walking around with I'll be tempted to drink it.
No, it was non-alcoholic.
Oh, okay, got it. Total abstinence, for me, nobody told me this. I found this out for myself, that I can never, ever, ever safely use drugs and alcohol again. Just knowing that, was like, because when I first got sober, I was definitely a drug addict. When I walked into those rooms, guarantee. Alcoholic? Nah, not really. Because I still had a lack of honesty with myself. I still had a reservation, because my brain was used to, Walmart, drunk, beach, drunk, movies, drunk, concert, drunk, everything I did. I had to relearn how to do everything. So I think the hardest part, honestly, about total abstinence was knowing I cannot put it in my body if I want to stay alive. I cannot put it in my body. See, my son that's sitting on my lap is a direct result of staying clean and sober. My wife right here, another one, direct result of staying clean and sober. Because without that, they don't got this. My wife, she already know.
All right, next question. What has recovery taught you? Short answers.
I would say the biggest lesson recovery's taught me that helps me is I always have a part. Always having a part for me allows me to never live in blaming others, even if it's their fault, technically. Because I can say, I allowed you to bother me. I allowed you to let you affect me. So if it's my part in it, I can always forgive it, accept it, and change it.
Can I change seats? We're not starting with
I would say recovery has taught me how to be an adult. So weird, but I really feel like basic life lessons, like showing up for people's birthdays, showing up on time for events, actually showing up when I said I would. Those are things that were just profound to me that recovery has taught me, and that's really just the tip of the iceberg.
What recovery has taught me is how to think about you more than I think about me. That's really what it taught me. Because I was convinced that the drugs and alcohol was my problem when I first got sober. Then it was revealed to me that I was a problem. Bruised my ego big time. But I seen it was true. So recovery, the solution for that was for me to get out of myself and focus on helping somebody other than myself. That's how PRP came about, because I started to think about, in the middle of the pandemic, how can I help someone else that's struggling, that don't got the same resources I had when I got sober.
Beautiful, thank you. All right, we'll start with Kat for this next one. What do you think about relationships in early recovery?
Love drugs. Love drugs. Skipper.
I'm definitely not qualified. I'm a little louder. You know what? I am of the belief that if it's not in the big book, then it doesn't apply. There is nothing in the big book that talks about no relationships first year. And if you are going to make that mistake, make it. Just go get it hard, get it as long as you can. And then whatever happens, happens. My sponsor always says that I can make my own choices, just be prepared for the consequences. So that's what I got.
So it's definitely not in the big book, but it was suggested to me in meetings not to get into any kind of romantic relationship early on within the first year, and I was very defiant. I didn't listen. Didn't listen at all. My wife is sitting up here. She knows all about me. I was in a sober living the first year. Had girls coming over all the time. Wasn't supposed to do that. In the sober living, that was a rule. I was breaking all the rules still. I was about 5 months sober when I met my wife. I got all kinds of grief from the old timers when I went to meetings. When I brought, you know, they ain't saying nothing no more. You know? But I understand why they suggested that to me, though. I understand. Because my wife could have been a major distraction. Never allow what recovery gave you to get in the way of your recovery. To this day, nothing, my wife, my kids, nothing has come above my recovery. Because if I put anything above it, everything will start coming last. You know, so yeah.
Short answer. Oh, sorry. Come on, Foster.
Well, I don't. Well, I don't recommend. Okay, if you're single, I don't recommend you get into one. Right? I don't recommend. I'm not saying it can't work. He's living proof. You know, that's the only reason why I'm saying it, though, because of him. But you know, for me, I mean, I went celibate for 8 months. Right? Again, I recommend it, but you probably won't do it. But I went celibate for 8 months because I'm codependent. If anybody looks at me in this room in my eyes, I'm gonna think you love me. Like, it's that bad, right? It's that bad. I can't break up either. I don't know how to do that. You cheat on me, I'm coming right back. So for me, yeah, it's a true story. 5 times it happened. I went back 5 times. So for me, I just feel like you got to think because if you put the relationship first, you're going to relapse. And if you can't even take care of yourself, can you really take care of 2 people? Right? That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, just do your best not to, but if you are, learn the lesson, and good luck.
Alright, awesome. We'll start with Alika for this one. What's the importance of outside help, aside from having a sponsor?
Okay.
So from my very first meeting, the first person I met actually was my grant sponsor. He said, here, call this guy. That guy became my sponsor 4 days later. I never sought out any outside help necessarily for about the first maybe 3 years, because this is why. So my sponsor, like my dad is one of them. My dad he's my #1 mentor, according to him. So like my dad, I would be sharing with him when I was newly sober about things that I've been learning, and he would contradict some things that my sponsor told me, and I'm like, wait, but this is working. See, this is the thing, that's why. My dad has never struggled with drugs and alcohol before, ever. So that's why I waited till I was done with my steps. It took me 2.5 years to complete all 12 steps. I went through that thing thoroughly because I was so jacked up. So it wasn't until afterwards where I found somebody to guide and direct me in my finances, my marriage, my leadership, my entrepreneurial endeavors, because that could have tripped me up early on. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people that I allow close to me, you know, like Chief got a lot of influence over me. If he tells me go left, okay, you know, kind of thing. So if like somebody like that, I'm trying to get you know, work the steps and do what I'm suggested, but somebody I really highly respect and never struggled with drugs and alcohol tells me something different, I'm probably going to listen to that person. So I waited till after I completed my steps to look for outside help, because my sponsor, he wasn't my banker, he wasn't my financial advisor, he wasn't my marriage counselor or my life coach. He walked me from step 1 through step 12. That's it.
Good luck.
Thank you. You said good luck? Good job. Okay.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, I think for me, the importance of outside help, I think, is everything, because I believe that AA helps us with the addiction, right? And we do work on a lot of trauma and stuff like that in our 4-step, but I feel like for me, like I go to therapy like every week sometimes, every month, because I got mental health issues. You know, I've been through a lot of trauma, and in AA, they don't go deep to the root to really heal those traumas and stuff like that. So I believe if once you get clean and sober and you're emotionally stable and you need to go deeper, you go to therapy. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with it. You know, therapy has changed my... Therapy is actually... EMDR has been like liquid Xanax for my life. So, do it.
Do you want me to answer that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. You guys got it.
I'll be quick, I guess. Honestly, just to kind of ditto what you said, my sponsor recommended that I start going to therapy, and that, you know, she can't help me with some of the things, and I really respected her for that, because I am of the belief, and the Big Book even talks about, you know, seeking outside help for other things. And, you know, it's absolutely changed my life. Trauma is something that we all have, no matter, you know, really respect my sponsor for recommending me to do that, because I probably wouldn't have, because I respect her so much, and it's changed my life. So thank you.
All right, we'll start with Fausto for this next one. What do you do to sustain your recovery?
Will you sustain it? Sustain means what? Maintain? Oh. Just making sure. What do I do to maintain my recovery? Be of service. Lean on God. Acceptance. Forgiveness. And faith. That's my answer.
No one else got that.
I would say very similarly. My very first sponsor said, she was from Texas, she says, you can't stay full on yesterday's hot dog, which basically means, what are you guys thinking? It means that I have to wake up every single day and do the same thing I did yesterday, or it doesn't really matter what I did yesterday. I mean, every day I have 24 hours, a spiritual reprieve contingent on the maintenance of my spiritual condition, whatever that quote is, and that I have to, pray, be of service, meditate, rely on God, be God reliant. And that I have to connect spiritually on a 24-hour basis, and if I don't, then I'm close to a drink.
So my sponsor gave me homework one day, and he said, here, find in the big book where they talk about working steps multiple times. I said, no problem, I'll find it. Thursday came around, 1 week later, I said, sponsor, I couldn't find it. He said, you know what, it's not in there. I'm like, why don't you tell me to look for it then? So what he taught me was that a 10, 11, 12. So 10, continue to take personal inventory, and when wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, stay connected to God. 12, carry this message to somebody else. He says, if you fail to 10, 11, 12 on a daily basis, then one day it'll make sense, because all the character defects can come back. You can still stay sober, but you're still behaving like how you were when you were in your addiction. You start copying resentments. Okay, it probably gonna make sense to work your steps all over again. So that's what he taught me, and that's what I've been doing ever since. I have failed. I haven't done it every single day. I've been sober for 2,073 days. I missed a few days. But that's what he taught me, and so that's what I remember to do on a daily basis.
Beautiful. All right, we'll start with Kat for this next one. What's the most insane thing you've ever done?
An addiction or sober? Or what?
I don't know, which one?
Let's go addiction. Addiction.
You can answer any way you like. Oh my gosh, I have clients
Addiction
here.
and sobriety.
I can't. Okay. Wow. This isn't really that big of a surprise, but I'm gonna go with sobriety first.
Okay.
I was 90 days sober. I was not working a program. I really didn't even want to be here with you guys. I was like, my family made me come to AA because they didn't want me to come to Thanksgiving, all this stuff. So I basically came to AA in September of 2015, hoping that they would invite me to Thanksgiving and Christmas that year, and I was not planning on staying. Long story short, I was 90 days sober. I didn't have a sponsor. I didn't believe in the steps. I definitely didn't believe I was an alcoholic. I met a boy in my morning meeting, and he had just gotten out of rehab. I didn't even know what rehab was. And he and I we of course exchanged numbers that day. We met for breakfast the next morning. He put his hand on mine and said, "You're gonna be my wife." Wow. I said, okay. He proposed 2 weeks later, and then we got married 1 week after that. So, that I married someone and we are no longer married. That did not work out. But that is, that's the most insane thing I did sober. Yeah, I know. Do you guys want to go?
So The most insane thing I've ever done, there's one thing that tops everything I have done. Because typically when somebody's asked this question, like, what I would have said initially was to get out of work for like the 10th time I think I called off. I punched myself in my eye as hard as I could, as long as I could, as fast as I could till it was swollen. I took a picture, I sent it to my boss. Look, I get proof now. It's like the 10th time I called out. My grandma died twice. The same grandma died twice. You know, so I had to think of something. But there's one thing that hands down blows everything out of the water. The most insane thing I've ever done was I made a decision in a sober state of mind to drink and use, knowing exactly what's going to happen.
Man, I had a lot of crazy things. Okay, I got one. I haven't really shared this one in public. Sorry, Mom. I don't know if you know this. So, in my addiction, just to clarify, I wouldn't do this sober. Not yet. So, I would get so spun out. We got any tweakers here? Make noise. Okay. Okay, maybe you guys will get this. Maybe not. So I get so spun out on meth, and I had this thing where I'd get NyQuil for my liquid, put meth, cocaine, ecstasy, opiates, mix it up, and I would put it up my rectum, right? Shoot it up. So I would get so spun out on this that, you know, you guys ever seen that show Jackass? So Steve-O butt chugs alcohol, right? So I was so spun out, I mean, holy crap, I wonder if that works. So I would lay down in my bathtub with a beer bong in my ass and put a bunch of Jack Daniels through it and drink it, the whole bottle, spun out. That's probably the craziest thing I did in my addiction, more than once, too.
Wow. We're here for your entertainment.
We'll be back on Sunday. Show. I was in my addiction. Come on.
All right, these questions are in a great order. We'll start with Athika for the next one. Has God played a part in your recovery?
Yes, absolutely. God has played a part in my recovery because I was far beyond human aid. No human power could save me already. Nothing worked. I needed God to intervene in my life, and He did. You know, when He did, in my mind, I thought, oh, finally. Like, bro, I've been waiting for you for how long? I used to, when I was about 10 years into my addiction, I used to be so tired of hearing people, especially in church, they'll tell me, don't worry, God got a plan, God got a plan. That would piss me off because I'll be thinking, oh, yeah. Then I'll be telling God, you know, I like to point the finger, blame, shift the blame, whatever, not my fault. So I tell God, hey, like, everybody talking about this plan. I read Jeremiah 29:11. He says you got this plan for me, but check me out, bro. I'm addicted to drugs and alcohol. I can't stop using people. I can't stop lying. Like, what kind of plan is this you get for me? You know, but it never crossed my mind one time that everything that was happening to me was because of me. It wasn't because of God. Just because God had a plan laid out for me didn't mean I'm gonna automatically walk it out. I needed to make that intentional. So for me, absolutely, because there's one sentence in the chapter to the agnostic sums up any 12-step program for me. It says that it will enable you, its main objective is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself that will solve your problem. Not your drink problem, any problem. So for me, Jesus is that, for me, personally.
I really struggled when I came in to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous because I saw God written all over the walls and I was like, this is not for me. I'm not doing this. When I was 19, I married a preacher's son, so there's a theme here, obviously. But I was trying to find God through him, and he was a great man, but you know, I couldn't. I could not find God through him or the church at that time, and really struggled with the whole God concept. And so it was suggested of me when I came to the rooms that, you know, we use group of drunks as our higher power, and thank goodness that was recommended to me because I was just jumped right in the middle of the fellowship. I was going to, you know, coffee, and my sponsor told me that I just say yes. You know, when women ask me to go places with them and give people rides and show up early and stay late, that I just yes. And for probably the first 3 years of my recovery, you know, the the fellowship was my higher power and really, really allowed me to stay. And then now, finally today, I have a connection with my own personal God and Creator, and just truly feel a connection that I know for certain. The sobriety date that I have was given to me by God, not something. I tried to choose my sobriety date several times, and it never worked. And so, you know, I know that it's only because of the spiritual connection and the things I do on a daily basis that I'm able to maintain. That's all I got.
What was the question?
Has God played a part in your recovery?
Oh yeah. I mean, God for me, I know that God has been the reason why I'm still sitting here right now. You know, I wasn't a person. I didn't have no religious trauma. I grew up Catholic, but I just went there and know what's happening. Went to a Christian church in high school because I would get high and they gave us free food. So I was very, I guess you could say, ignorance is a bliss, right? Because someone just told me, hey, there's this God thing and magic happens, and I'm like, oh, that's tight. Like, okay, I'm down for that, like magic. And I remember when I had this perception of God said that everything in life isn't happening to me, it's happening for me. And it felt like I took what is it, Excedrin? Like imagine having a headache for 25 years and then I did this God thing and all of a sudden my headache was gone. So it was the experience that I was addicted to, right? I was addicted to feeling free, to feeling high on life. And so the only reason why I'm here is because God makes me believe that no matter what happens, I'll be okay. God makes me believe that everything happens for a reason. God makes me believe that no matter how hard it gets, it's supposed to be like that because I'm strong enough to get through it to help people. So for me, God has been just the reason why life feels colorful, because life is unfair and it's hard and trauma sucks and it never goes away, and the thoughts of using, they're still there for me. And so God lets me know that you're going to be okay. No human being can let me know it's going to be okay, only God can.
It's beautiful. Thank you. All right, next question. How has your life changed since being sober and in recovery?
How has it changed?
Being in recovery?
My life, it changed drastically. True story. I had a lot of girlfriends in my life. Like people, my family, they all know that about me. All of them, 100% of them have broken up with me. All of them. Except my wife that I have today. So, you know, I mean, because I changed my way of thinking. Never had a drinking problem. Always a thinking problem that manifests into a drink problem, a drug problem, an anger problem, control problem. You know, so because of my relationship with God and working my steps, those things, two things combined, it literally, I'm a different human being. It's not like, oh, I'm sober and that's it. No, I operate totally different. My thinking is different. And therefore, I got different results in my life. Like, I figured out how to hang on to a woman now. Yeah. Took me 33 years, you know? But for me, that's what I got. That's all I got. Thank you.
Similarly, total transformation. I mean, when I think about, it's not about being sober. For me, it's about recovery. Those two are different things for me, because being sober was something I tried to do a lot on my own, and to me that's just abstinent, right? And nobody really cares if I'm abstinent from drugs and alcohol if I'm still the same asshole I was when I wasn't, or when I was drinking, right? It's about a change in behavior. And I tried so many things to change my behavior and to change the person I was, you know, that psychic change that the Big Book talks about. Tons of self-help books, like yoga retreats, trips, all of these, you know, therapy, you know, special, like, you know, things I would do to look at my family dynamics. And truly the only thing that has helped me transform is the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I don't even recognize the woman I am today. You know, we were on the way up here, and I was talking to the girls in the car, and just really having a discussion about relationships and what's important and what's acceptable and standards. And man, that was much different 7 years ago for me. So, you know, the woman I am today is, thank goodness, not even recognizable to the woman I was when I came in here. I was a shell of a person. I had no idea who I was. I'm still finding out who I am, but I know for certain, without a doubt, that I'm an alcoholic and addict. And that, you know, I have a set of spiritual tools today that I'm allowed to use that help me live my life on a day-to-day basis, which I was completely lost. Now I actually have like a rubric and a barometer to run my life, and have a spiritual connection that allows me to actually have a purpose in life.
Yeah, I mean, before I got sober, I mean, I was crazy. I know a lot of people didn't know me in my addiction. I mean, my aunt did, my mom and my cousin, they knew me. I was wild. I was weird. I was crazy. And so, like, it's wild because, like, my day-to-day towards the end was, like, sleeping in parking structures. I would be, like, butt naked in motels, running around, thinking the government's after me. I'd be at parks. Thank God I didn't get caught. I was, like, in elementary school, twacked out of my mind, running away from people. And, like, that was my life. You know, I'd always get lost in sex shops. I don't know why. But that always happened. And, right? You know, it's crazy too, right? So, like, it's wild that now, like, I mean, I've been on podcasts, I've been on TV shows, I've been in different countries, different states, I'm speaking, working with, like, celebrities, I'm doing stuff like this with people, I got a business now, like, you know, I'm in a healthy relationship, like, that's crazy. It's wild. You know what I mean? Shout out to my girlfriend, by the way. Let's make some noise for her, right? You know what I mean? You know, and they're blessings, right? Because I never knew what love was because I couldn't receive it. This has taught me that I could be loved and I could feel connected, and it's the funnest thing. You know what I mean? It is so fun. So yeah, I'm a total different person. If you guys want to see a music video of me, go on YouTube. Ecstasy music video by Fausto. No one's seen this. I'm sharing this with you guys. You'll see me when I was 14 years old, how weird I was. Watch that, you'll see. Fausto Ecstasy music video, you'll see it.
Yeah, you'll see it. That was vulnerable. Oh, God.
All right, this one is for Alika specifically. When you first met your now wife, were you sober? And if you were, was it hard to deal with her or for her to deal with you?
Oh, damn.
Okay, it's time to tell the truth. Baby, you gotta go bathroom? So, what was the first part of the question? I'm sorry. Oh yes, I was sober. Yeah, I was about 5-6 months sober. What was the other half? Was it hard to deal with me?
Was it hard for you to deal with her and her to deal with you?
You wanna go first?
It's just for you.
Okay. Oh, okay. It's just for me. All kidding aside, recovery is about growth. It's about growth. It's about growing in different areas of your life. Being married to my wife, I had a lot of practice in practicing these principles in all my affairs, you know, and her as well. But I believe we both can be difficult, honestly. You know what I mean? But everything I was learning about myself, learning about humility, something I didn't know nothing about, being able, my wife, okay, I can remember being in one heated, not debate, screaming match between me and her. And in my mind, I realized what was going on. And I immediately, I don't know if you remember, you probably remember this, I'm like at a 200 on the scale. And so is she. And I can remember, this is not going nowhere. I immediately, I calmed down, like, boom. I said, babe, you know what, I'm so sorry. I started apologizing. If you ever want to learn how to just totally disarm your woman, start apologizing. My wife was like a fish out of water. She didn't know what to say. Yeah, you know, it works every time. It works every time. But like Fausto said, learning that I had a part to play. And I did, even if I didn't start it, even if I did. You know, I do my best to practice these principles in all my affairs. I do. I am not perfect by any means, but I'm glad because my wife is there to be my helper. She calls me out on things, and she presses me. And we need that. I believe every drug addict and alcoholic on the planet, we will always need accountability and support to the day we die.
Thank you. Awesome. Fausto, this next one's for you. How do you heal from sexual trauma?
Oh, let's get deep. Well, you know, I think it depends. That was kind of funny. No pun intended. Well, I think it depends, right? There's two ways to look at it. You know, if you've been sexually abused by the same sex as you, that plays a factor, right? It could be the opposite sex, right? For me, in my experience, right, it's with the same sex. So when I was 7 years old and I was sexually abused, for me, see, the thing I would say how to heal from it is you have to forgive it. I'm not saying you had a part in it, but you did. And right, this is hard to understand, right? Like, how did I have a part in it as a kid? Your part is that you can't let it go. And remember, I'm only speaking from experience, because when I could not let that go, I would treat all my partners with abuse. That's just being honest. I would abuse my partners because of what happened to me, because I couldn't talk about it, and I was holding on to that anger, and I would take out that anger on the people I love the most. That's what happens. So in order to heal from it, I had to, for one, understand. First, I had to get sober. I had to have a sober state of mind. Put it on my 4th step. And that's when I found out my part is just not letting it go. And I was like, I can work with that. Okay, I mean, as long as you don't say like, hey, I put myself in that situation. And then the next thing I had to realize was, why? Because I would ask this question, right? Why would someone do that to me? Right? Maybe we've all asked, like, why would someone do that? And I had to create a story. I don't know if it's true, but I feel like if you could give something meaning, you can heal. So I said, maybe it happened to him. And the reason why I say that, because people may argue that, is because I know me being sexually abused makes me have thoughts of doing that. That's being honest. But I'm not going to act on it, but I know that maybe this person had to act on it. You know, it just is what it is. And so being able to look at it like that, I was able to forgive it. And once I saw myself change the way I treated people, that what made me motivated to want to keep on doing it. So you gotta be able to let it go, to understand if you don't let it go, you're gonna hurt the people you love the most. If you let it go, you'll experience love and connection, and just give it some meaning. Because if not, think about it. How did you feel being abused? I bet you didn't like it. So if you don't let it go, then you're gonna keep on abusing people that you love. And I don't think that's fair to them, because we know words cut deeper than physical wounds. Yeah, that's what I got.
That was amazing. Thank you. Kat, we'll start with you for this next one, and it's a panel question for everybody. What's the best way as a normie to support a loved one in recovery, especially in times where they feel disconnected from their spirituality or struggle with drug use ideation? Did that make sense?
What's the best way for like
Support a normie.
yeah?
It's for a normie to support us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So I'm a huge advocate of Al-Anon.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are unaware of Al-Anon, it is the family support system for family members who have addicts in their family, whether they're using or not using. Al-Anon gives tools to help you deal with addicts and alcoholics, whether they're using or not. It's absolutely changed my life. So in that program, and Al-Anon would probably learn it's none of their business what's actually happening in the alcoholic or addict's life.
That's right.
And that a lot of times alcoholics and addicts, whether we're using or not, we can be incredibly manipulative, and we'll do really whatever we need to get what we want. And so, you know, I always recommend, whether your addict or alcoholic is using or not, Al-Anon is huge. Because we are a subtype of people, and I would say that if I'm with a normie and they want to support me, that it's my job to tell them how to support me. That I have to be able to communicate to them what I need. It is 1,000% not their role or responsibility to coddle me or really do try to imagine what I need. That I need to communicate properly what's important to me at that time.
Well, Kat just pretty much took the words out of my mouth. I'm a big believer in that, especially Al-Anon. My wife is a part of Al-Anon, and in Al-Anon, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, babe, but it's you can't change them, you can't control them, and you can't change it, you can't control it, and you can't cure it. So in that fellowship, because Bill Wilson he was the co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous. His wife Lois started Al-Anon for the people that was affected by the sufferer, the husband, the wife. They even have Alateen as well for kids. But you know, that was the answer I was gonna give. But the next thing that comes to my mind, honestly, is to love that person unconditionally. If somebody ever tells you that they love you unconditionally, this is how you know if they're telling the truth. If they say, I love you because, it ceases to be unconditional. Because guess what? If somebody ever told me, I love you because you got the nicest body I ever seen, guess what? You better keep having that body forever. Well, that cat doesn't have a problem with that though, but I do. I used to have muscles before. My body, I had the dad bod for a long time already, you know. I didn't always look like this. But in getting back to supporting, you know, the normie, love on them, love on them, love on them.
Yeah, I would say one, again, Al-Anon, I do agree with. Go to Al-Anon if, you know, family members, you got your kids that are dealing with addiction or loved ones. Because, like, the other day I had a mom talking to me that her daughter's getting into drugs and stuff like that. And, you know, the mom's like, I'm going to kick her out. She's this, and that. How fucking she doesn't listen to me. I'm doing all this shit for her, this, and that. And, you know, I have a therapist mindset because that's what I do for work. I just want to say, yeah, because you're the problem too. But I'm not going to say that, right? But that's the truth. The parents are the problem. They play a part in it. So I always say, I tell the parents, hey, instead of getting pissed off and saying that, why are they doing that? You need to go get help. Support, go to a support group. They need to be supported because, like he said, right? You can't change us, you can't cure us, you can't fix us, and it doesn't matter what you say or what you've done for us, the disease doesn't care. So I would say that, and also for a thing too to understand is, I would tell the normie to get educated. Get educated on addiction, get educated on the culture, get educated on what it is, because I'm learning from my own personal experiences. I totally forget the recovery culture is not normal, right? It's not. People don't just hug and you're amazing, I love you, and high five hugs and all this stuff, right? I totally forgot. That's not normal, right? So it's like, I think getting educated on it too, because, you know, it really is a brother and sisterhood here, right? I mean, look at all of us. I mean, we wouldn't go to a concert not knowing you want to go, I love you, and hug you and all that, right? That's weird, right? But in AA, that's what we do. It's kind of part of it. Because they even say 8 hugs a day will save your life. That's scientifically proven.
Science.
Science. All right, does anyone in the audience have a question that you'd like to ask?
Come on, guys.
Don't be shy. Oh.
Going once, going twice. Okay, go.
All right, yes.
Kimberly, alcoholic.
Kimberly!
How hard is it for you to keep your professional recovery separated from your personal recovery? Like that defined line when you're in a meeting with a client or in a group, that's not your meeting, that's not your program. Staying connected outside in the real world on your own time when nobody's looking and just doing your own program. How hard is that for you?
Nobody from HIPAA is here, right? Okay, who wants to answer that?
So basically what you're saying is, how do I separate the work life and then the personal recovery? Because I'm in treatment.
Making the time for it.
Oh, where's Chief? Okay, he's not here. I learned from him, none of us have time. We all make time. I learned from my dad at a young age to manage my time well, and I got good at it because it made me more efficient. I could do way more drugs and get things done. You know? But I use that in my personal life. My wife knows this about me. I'm never late or on time for anything. I was here 4 hours before this event started, making sure everything was good, you know. So just managing your time well, and that's something I learned in business. I've been an entrepreneur a long time. That was one of the things I learned. But you know, just prioritizing what's important, what's least, and just, you know, go down the list and kind of bang them out. Is that everybody? Okay. Anybody else got a question? Okay, I'll in the back.
That looks like Chris.
Yeah.
Big homie.
Big homie.
Big homie.
Yeah, I have a question. What would you guys say to somebody that's been hurt by AA, by somebody there, they have a lack of trust? How do you get them back into that fellowship and really trusting a person, trusting a sponsor with their sobriety?
Great question, Chris. That's a great one. You guys ready? I'm ready. Okay, go ahead.
So you're saying, like, how do you come back to AA after like something happening from there that personally hurt you? This is the way I see it, right? Four agreement says don't take anything personal, right? Because at the end of the day, if we take things personal, then you're never going to be happy and you're never going to recover fully, because people will always disrespect us, right? There's always going to be an asshole wherever we go, right? So if you go to the gym isn't bad, but there's douchebags. All right, this is what it is, right? And so I think it's like remembering, like, first of all, it's a bunch of sick people, right? There's probably the most assholes in there, right? Assholes Anonymous. So I think one of those things I would do, because I've been in that situation before, for me, I just went to a different meeting. Found a different meeting, found a different fellowship, found my people, and understood that, like, you know, I don't have to force myself into something if I don't like it, but I'm not going to give up on it. So I would say do that, you know, because then after that, you start to realize, like, there's always going to be an asshole in the room.
I got it.
Great question, Chris. So for me, everybody, raise your hand if you've ever been hurt by somebody else. Everybody's hand should go up. You know, I learned that learning to not to take an offense personal is considered a strength. We've all have been hurt by other people, and usually what we do emotionally, these walls come flying up in us. Because why? We try to keep people at bay emotionally. Part of the solution in recovery is each other. We need each other. So there's good news and bad news about this. If you kind of keep people at bay, keep them arm's length, the good news is they can never hurt you. This is the devastating bad news, though. They can never help you either. And we need each other. Trust me. No, I would debate this with anybody. Oh, I get so fired up thinking about this. But no human being on the planet will ever get sober and stay sober all by themselves. It just does not work that way.
We're going to do one more question. I think somewhere over here. One more?
Oh, there.
I don't know if I need it. So the book talks about requiring a vital spiritual experience to be able to get this thing and maintain it. Can y'all tell us one of your most profound vital experience or profound spiritual experiences you've been able to either witness or had?
That's a really good question. And you know, in my experience of vital spiritual experience is something I've walked through sober that I never could have walked through prior to being in recovery. And I remember when I came into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, my sponsor had me write down my fears as part of my 5th step inventory. And I told her that one of my biggest fears was losing my Jack Russell. She was for 17 years. She was the absolute love of my life, had been through everything with me. And I said, there's no way that if I lose her, that I'll be able to stay sober. I won't want to. And I had to make the really difficult decision about 18 months ago to put her down. And man, there is no pain like losing your homie like that. But I did it sober, and the person came to my house, and we did it in the living room, and it was this really peaceful, beautiful thing, and it probably would have been far less painful if I had some Xanax and vodka. But you know what? I was able to honor that sweet little girl, because she saw me use and drink for a lot of years, and she was one of the reasons that I stuck around. You know, there were days when I wanted to put a bullet in my head, and I worried. I would go to the dog park, the dog beach, and I was like, I wonder if someone would just take her. Should I just leave her here? Because I wanted to kill myself. I was so desperate. And she was one of the reasons I stayed around, and so that was the least I could do, is stay sober for her and walk through that experience that was incredibly painful, but also, you know, really beautiful and really healing.
Yeah, for me, that's a great question, right? Because I always believe in the Big Book it talks about it's a spiritual disease, right? You can do some mental work, physical work, emotional work, and you ain't going to stay sober. It's a spiritual disease. So, you know, I think the more spiritual experiences we have, the better. So, like, for me, I've had a lot from, like, I would talk to the TV, to a celebrity, and say, I'm going to meet this person. So I would talk to the TV and pretend I'm already talking to him. And then what happened was, one day I was in a meeting, at a work meeting, and Kanye West's life coach was sitting right behind me. And I would talk to him through a TV. Second thing was the number one jump roper in the world, the Olympic athlete. I said, I want to meet him and tell him his jump rope saved my life. So I would pretend that I'm hanging out with him in my head, right? Because again, spirituality, I'm sitting with it. Okay, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. A year later, he finds me, calls me, flies me out to DC, takes me to Benihana's and says, and I got to tell him, your jump rope saved my life. Right? A lot of crazy things. I want to work with celebrities, so I would, again, right? I put a YouTube video out, let's see what happens, God. All of a sudden, a guy from America's Got Talent contacts me and I'm sitting with him. And my mom was like, dude, I love that guy. I go, Mom, you want to meet him? And I just sat with him, you know, it's crazy. But aside from those things, the biggest thing for me, I would say is, for 4.5 years of my sobriety, I could not experience connection. I couldn't. People thought, you do all these amazing things, you must have so much fun, but I couldn't do the day-to-day things without having a panic attack. But people would never know that, because you always see me in my element. And so the biggest spiritual experience has been in my relationship right now, because my girlfriend's a normie, but she has actually showed me that I can't, it's not that I am too spiritual that I can't live life, it was that I was trying to live life with the wrong people, and that's why I hated it. So she's really shown me how to just be a normal person. And for me, that's been the best spiritual experience, because I thought I needed to always do something extreme to be happy. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. I got a really short answer for that one. To be honest, and it's not super profound, but for me, a spiritual experience was learning how to tell the truth.
What?
Honestly, I was a habitual liar. Before a drug or drink entered my body, I was a liar already. And then over a considerable period of time, we never get better, we only get worse. So that happened to me. So like things like that, waking up sober was a spiritual experience. And I can remember everything I did the next day. But honestly, that one, telling the truth, honestly, that's a spiritual experience for me.
One last question.
Well, there was one more. But
Okay.
kind of out of time, or do you?
No, okay, one more question.
Last question, we're gonna party after.
Yeah.
Yeah!
Last question.
Sam?
What advice do you have for the recovering addict dating a normie?
I thought recovering addict.
Recovery addict dating a normie? Let's see. Advice for the recovering addict dating a normie. I would say, for the recovering addict, know that you're going to be triggered more than ever, and not in a bad way. The reality is you're going to start to see a lot of your insecurities and your defects, because you're going to realize the normal things that are normal life, how tough they are for us to do. And I've learned that they're going to see a lot of things that we don't see. And we have to be humble enough to accept that what they're saying is true. It's tough. Because if you're dating an addict and you're an addict, you don't got to worry about a lot of things, right? You're going places that you're always safe, sobriety this, you talk, you have all the same crazy stories and stuff like that, right? But with the normie, it's like, hey, let's go to a concert. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Let's go to an amusement park. Oh my gosh. Let's go to the museum. Holy shit. Hey, you want to meet my friends? They're all normies. Oh no. What am I going to talk about? Are they going to like me? Am I weird? You know what I mean? Or communication? Consistency? Honesty? Loyalty? There's so many things, right? This normie's showing. And so I just say, be humble, stay teachable, have therapy, you know? And but it's a blessing in disguise, right? Because we can only heal certain things through getting triggered. On the other side of that, you're going to grow better together. So that's what I would say. I mean, it's been really tough for me, but I'm so happy.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
You guys ever?
Yeah, I'm with a normie right now.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Very in love.
You married?
Not yet. It's coming. Yes. Wedding invites are coming. Okay, kidding. But what I would say, I normally have honestly dated a lot of addicts and people in recovery, which I liked. And I didn't really have a preference either way. It's just kind of whoever God put in my life. But it's really refreshing to date a normie because they can like have a drink at dinner and I'm not. I mean, it's like weird that they leave half of it. That kind of drives me insane. I think they need help, but
They're sick.
I have noticed in dating a normie how extreme my personality it truly is. I mean, I'm an alcoholic. It's not about the drinking and the drugs. A quick example is my sponsor told me that I needed to buy a house plant and start to just change my internal and my house environment a little bit. And I went to Dana Point Nursery and almost bought out the entire nursery. And it was 3 truckloads. And my living room looks like the Lion King. And that's just how I operate in all ways. And for us, it's funny, but people on the outside are like, "Are you okay? Like, is that?" And I'm like, "You need to learn about alcoholism because this is me." So that's what I got.
What was the question again? One more time? Sorry.
It doesn't apply because you're not with a normie.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
What advice do you have being in recovery, dating, or married to a normie?
What advice do you have for the people who want to be
Don't do it. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I would say take the time to understand her or him too. Don't just depend on them to understand you. You know, today recovery taught me through the process, I'd rather understand than be understood. You know, I was very selfish, self-centered, self-seeking, self-reliant. Everything was about me. But in regards to, my wife is a normal. Babe, stand up real quick so everybody knows who I'm talking about. Yeah, do it, yeah. She popped out 2 kids for me. Woo! Yes. And we're not done yet. Whoa! Nah, just kidding.
I didn't agree to that.
So it's probably a good time to mention my mentor, Chief, is writing a book. Don't get married and don't have kids. Go talk to him about it. Yeah, but honestly, take the time. Be honest. See, I was ridiculously, brutally honest with my wife in our very first conversation we ever had. But I continue to do that because I'm exposing to her my way of thinking. She's learning. I'm educating her by her being around me and talking and getting to know one another in the beginning and all this stuff. Because see, my wife sees all the things I do not see. I don't see a lot. There's a lot I don't see. All the big stuff, yeah, I see. All the little stuff that can, you see, big doors, they slide open on little hinges. It's the little foxes. These little things that she'll bring to my attention, and then, we're an encouragement, we're of help to one another as well. So it's not all she's helping me, though how I believe I help her, the most effective thing I can do to help her is be an example for her to follow. Like men, you want your wife to, or your girlfriend to be patient with you, be patient with her first.
Amen.
You want to talk nice to you, be nice to her first. Do it first, lead by example. You'd be surprised that how quickly that's contagious. She'll start following, So that's the last question. Any last words from anybody of our other guests? If not, we can get this party started and celebrate my brother's 5 years. Yeah? You ready? Good. Thank you, Siobhan, so much for being here, Kat. Appreciate you. Fausto, I love you. Okay, Instagram handles. So you can follow me. My personal one is Alika Gambo. Right there, look up on the screen. That's the PRP one. And then here comes Kat.
I'm SoCal Cat, SoCalKattT on Instagram and TikTok.
And you can find me at Hope Dealer Fausto at TikTok, Instagram. YouTube is Sober Fausto or SoberFausto.com. I got an idea. Tell me what you guys think, right? I might be doing this, I'm not sure. I'm thinking of creating a subscription for $4.99, right? $5 a month, and you're gonna get free therapy, free counseling, free life coaching, and group chats. That's pretty rad, right? Because therapy costs like $100 to $130, but I want to offer my services and my profession for cheaper for everyone. So if you follow me, I might be doing that. So, Hope Dealer Fausto.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's give it up for him.
You want to say anything, Chief? I'm good, brother. I'm good.
Yeah. Let's give it up for our amazing panel.
All right.
Let's get the party started.
January pony.
Yeah.